Okay, calm down. You got rivers, man. You got rivers, man. Okay, calm down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Katie Halper Show. We have a chock full of guest show for you today. Very excited to be speaking to Butch Ware, who was the Green Party nominee for president, and he's now running for governor of California. So he's going to be on during the second half of the show. We're also going to be talking to tenants' rights and housing organizer Esteban Girón. But first, we're going to be talking to some really funny guys. You know them, you love them. They are the co-hosts of the most moral pod in the world, Bad Hasbara. And we're going to be talking about Sarah Hurwitz and why she is such a powerful tool for anti-Zionism without even realizing or intending it. But before we start and get into the show, of course, please do what you do best, which is give this a thumbs up, like the stream, subscribe. We are almost at 400,000 subscribers. Which is great. So make sure you subscribe. If you're not already Patreon supporters, please become Patreon supporters at patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. And if you join at the $5 a month level, you get access to great extended interviews and bonus interviews and early access to different things. Also, we are trying to get our TikTok numbers up. Well, when I say I mean I'm trying to get my TikTok numbers up. Brad, what is my TikTok name? Do you know? Do you remember? This is how well versed I am in TikTok. We're going to get that to you for a second. But if people could just follow me on TikTok, that would be great. I'm like 3,000. We're trying to get to 3,000 followers. They're good numbers. The numbers on the video views are good, but we are trying to get more followers. And again, apologies if I sound stuffed up. Like Hassan, that guy I always make fun of because he sounds so stuffed up, but I continue to be a little sick. So, yeah, everyone be healthy and drink a lot of fluids. And I should follow that advice myself because I haven't had a single glass of water. I've just had coffee today. Food.
And Katie, I believe the handle for TikTok would be all lowercase KT helps _. So
Yeah.
KTHALPS_.
Yeah. Yes. And thank you for that. So we can put in Brad can make a little like ticker tape thing for that at some point during the show. Also, let's see. We got a lot of people already fighting in the chat about something we're going to be talking about during the second half, which is whether or not Zohran Mamdani is a socialist or sellout, which is a bit of a provocative, corny title, but I had to go with it because that is something we're going to be looking at. And I think there's going to be some disagreement between Butch Ware and Esteban Girón on that. Okay. But now I'm bringing onto the stage, virtual stage, two friends of the show, foes of Israel and Zionism. That would be Lieb and Daniel Maté of the Bad Hasbara podcast. Hello.
Hey. Hello there.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks.
So good. So good to be back.
Yes.
Back at home.
Yes, thank you. Yes, to your second home. Who
That's
needs
right.
Israel when you have the Katie Halper Show?
Our second home that is about 10 times as many YouTube subscribers as we do.
Yeah, we actually came here to confront you about that.
Yeah,
it's kind of problematic.
So we've been doing our show for 2 years, and we're not even at 50,000.
Wow.
And right. I believe that you have since I don't know when you started the show, but from the time we started to now, you've gained like 150,000 followers.
Really? You've been following, huh?
Oh, I've been taking notes. You should see my room. It's filled with red string
nice.
And pictures of you.
And speaking of red, I don't know what your socialist/communist education was like, Katie, but there's this little phrase called from each according to their ability, to each according to their need.
Yeah.
And we need.
Yeah, you guys need. I have the ability and you guys have the need. So we'll try to match those.
According to the tenets of Zionism, we're just going to take.
We're going to take.
Right. Got it.
Which is the true Judaism. Yeah.
Well, do you guys have a YouTube rep, by the way?
A YouTube what now?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's like a special YouTube person that if you have a certain, I guess, like number of followers or something, you get like a special rep, but I don't have that. And a lot of people who have fewer followers than me do have one. So I don't know if it's a gender thing,
like in Congress.
Thing. Oh my God, yeah, like APAC has everyone has an APAC.
Is it an
handler.
APAC rep?
No, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, no, like a YouTube representative who gives you the
the inside scoop of the algorithm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
Fuck.
don't be too jealous, because what would be really fascinating is if I continue to outgrow you or outpace you or whatever you want to say, and you guys get the rep.
I mean, listen, if the rep comes with money, then
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to stay at less than 50,000.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But so far we don't have the money or the subscribers.
Right.
Or
So
the rep.
we got a little bit of
Right,
a
you got-
problem
yeah.
here.
The rep.
You know?
Rep of blessed
Anyway.
memory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great
Reppy-
show. I love
reppy of
your
memory.
show.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
it is great. It is worthy of the
Every single follow.
every
Yeah.
single
You've
follower
earned
and
it.
subscriber.
Wow. Thank you.
And you know, so congratulations. And we're fine.
I was
We're actually
listening. I
doing
was
just
listening
fine.
to your show before I ever thought in a million years that I would myself podcast. Years
Wow.
That's right.
before.
I walked, so I ran so you could walk.
That's right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks guys. This has been great. I just needed that like ego boost, and
Bye.
have a great night. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
See everybody.
oh my God, who did that?
I did that. See,
That's
this is
great.
why I don't
Our soundboard-
understand why we don't have at least 50,000
I
fucking
know.
followers.
And we didn't set that up, guys. I know it seems like we set that up just to show you what a shonda it is that they don't have more followers.
No.
But yeah.
I was because I need people to know how hard we work.
In fact, we work so hard that it's caused permanent harm to our feelings. Isn't that right, Matt?
Uh-huh. Fuck, it's
No,
only Seinfeld. It's all I got is
Oh, you, only
Seinfeld.
got, you don't have the emotionally damaged
No, I
Jewishly one?
I didn't set it up on time to have everything else.
All right. Now we know why you're at 50K. I'm sorry. I didn't want to be. Brad, I'm sorry to put you on blast, Brad, but how are you not doing this all the time?
Yeah.
If you would
Soundboard
like,
stuff.
I would be
Oh, no,
happy to.
I've just opened a Pandora's box. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to start asking a producer to start doing soundboard because once you start them, you can't stop them.
Also, he's like literally a sound engineer, music educator. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, he's exactly who you. Yeah.
We had our producer Adam, wrote a couple funny jokes in the lower thirds once, and now he has never stopped doing it.
Oh my God, it's so great. Yeah.
It's you never give them too much power, is what I say. Shout
Well,
out
yeah.
to producer Adam Levin.
And just want to say, everyone needs to go and subscribe to these gentlemen's program as well.
brother.
They equally deserve it, and I'm sure we will also put a link.
Equally.
In this,
What's equally? That was an unforced error. You could just say they deserve
Yeah,
it.
equally,
And
if
if
not
you-
more
Pretty
so.
much.
And
Oh
if
my
you-
God.
So.
Brad
if you-
did not believe that Bree had that. I will never forgive him for. For some reason, it came up on a YouTube show, like on a stream, that Bree had fewer followers than me, and Brad was like, "Wait, what?" Even though I started way before her. You just got a bunch of subs, by the way. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I'll see you later.
Right.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Folks, if you need to slide into the warm bath of subscribing to us, go check out the episode we did with one Katie Halper.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
right.
It's on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there
It's a
would have
great
been
one.
another one this week.
But I was
If
under
it
the
weren't for
weather.
the-
Yeah.
You were under the weather.
Oh, I
Everyone
feel
Weren't
was.
for
bad.
those meddling yids.
I feel bad now. The person who you replaced me with is going to feel very second fiddle.
Yeah, no, well, don't tell her.
Okay, I won't. All right,
Oh, shit, I did. Is this
Yeah.
live?
it's live. Yeah, it's too late.
Can we
yeah.
start over again?
Yeah.
I'm
All
having
right.
fun.
So let's talk about everyone's favorite lady right now. None other than Sarah Hurwitz. People know her and love her. She was a speechwriter for Vice President Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and Michelle Obama, and even Barack Obama. She was mentioned as one of Forward's 50 machers and shakers who influenced, intrigued, and inspired us this year. And she is the author of Here All Along and As a Jew. And she is now on tour with that book. And in fact, we can go visit her website later on in this chat. But
Didn't she write the phrase when they go low, we go high for Michelle?
did she?
Isn't she credited for that?
That is insane.
Oh,
I
man.
might be wrong.
Wow.
I love it. Now she's like,
When they
when they
go
go
low, we
low,
go
I'm
high.
Yisrael Chai.
Yeah.
We just made the same.
We
Yeah,
just did it.
We just
People
did that.
to
Yeah.
see?
Amazing. That's
Equal
amazing.
amounts of subscribers is what's needed.
Exactly. That would be the way to
So,
match.
Mhm.
Equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a clip that we're going to watch this clip that went kind of viral. And the reason, I mean, it went viral is because it really is the Sarah Hurwitz woman is basically critiquing and we'll get into the analysis later, but just a little heads up, like she basically critiques Zionist weaponization of anti-Semitism and the Holocaust in a far better way than any Zionist could ever have done in a million years.
Yeah.
And so this first clip that we're going to be looking at is from the Jewish
I think you mean the reverse. She critiques Zionist weaponization.
Oh yeah, what did I say? Did I say anti-Zionist?
Better than any anti-Zionist could.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
I think you said the reverse. Yeah.
Now you guys are showing me up.
Well, yeah, I know what it is to be sick and be a little addled.
Adelson.
Yeah,
Sheldon,
a little
Adelson.
Sheldon, a little
Yeah.
Miriam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
no,
right.
but she really does make our case for us. It's incredible. You're
Yeah,
right.
it really is unbelievable. Okay, so let's take a look at this clip, and thank you for that correction, Daniel. We do live in a topsy-turvy world.
That's
So
right.
here is Sarah speaking at the Jewish Federation of North America's yearly General Assembly, which is held in Washington, D.C., on November 16th.
I think that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel.
And by the way, if you want to pause it, just lift up your hand.
Oh, you got it.
And I think that is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today, we have social media, which is a global medium, right? Its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And so while in the 1990s,
after hearing you, yeah.
Okay, so in fairness, going to a bookstore today is weird. Going to any bookstore back then seems weird by our standards. But this notion that like what does she mean by weird bookstores? Weird bookstores that carry global authors?
I know
that carry something other than what the New York Times just reviewed.
Like Barnes and Noble, for instance.
Right.
Like you don't have to be that fringe to have authors who were not born or live in the United States.
Right. And also like the way in that she frames this very specifically, she mentions that, back in the day, we used to have American media.
Yeah.
The idea, and if you wanted to get like global books, you'd have to go to a weird bookstore, which is a very strange thing. Because, well, number one, there were tons of books. Like what she's saying is just factually incorrect. She is trying to make the point without saying it that like you'd have to go to a weird bookstore in the Confederate South to find books like the Anarchist Cookbook, which taught you how to make bombs, and Noam Chomsky's Hegemony or Survival. It's like that's not true. That is just not true. Factually inaccurate.
Edward Said
is a book you could get at bookstores.
Exactly.
You know?
So bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, literally though, Isabel Allende, House of the Spirits, like fringe Chilean contraband that you couldn't find at Barnes and Noble. Yeah, let alone like any more like intellectual bookstore or university bookstore. Yeah.
Right. Even, and then also she's trying to say that now we have all this like global media that's out here in a globe full with anti-Semites.
Right. Yeah.
That's just not true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But maybe after the past 2 years of genocide, where you have people like Sarah Hurwitz saying like, oh, no. In case you were confused, yes, all of the Jews like this. Then maybe, yes, we do have a global anti-Semitism problem. Right. But in general, that belief that everyone hates us is so deeply ingrained, I think, in a lot of us since childhood that we just accept that framing without questioning it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's absurd. Yeah.
And she's lamenting the slight cracking of the hegemonic media class in terms of
we used to be able to control the media.
Exactly.
She sounds a little bit like Alex Jones, global media. Like this is the type of stuff that actual anti-Semites like.
Well, I said on our show, so much for us being globalists. She hates the globe.
Yeah.
No, she's doing bizarro Alex Jones,
Yeah,
where she's
exactly.
just like, the globalists control the media, and that's
Yeah.
good. We
Yeah.
like the globalists.
Right. But yeah, all right, let's keep watching.
You know, a young person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes. Today,
Those are
those
two different
Nick
things.
Fuentes and Al Jazeera. I always get confused between my
Yeah,
incel
very similar things,
Islamophobic-
those.
Yeah. Yes, so dumb.
media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this increasingly post-literate media, less and less text, more and more videos. So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of
Who would
carnage
smash
in
a young
Gaza.
person's brain?
And this,
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
would do that?
Literally,
Who would do that to a young brain, a
Yeah.
young skull, a young head,
What a
young
horrifying
arm or
image.
leg or torso?
Yes. Yeah.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Right.
Do it metaphorically. It's almost worse than doing it for real, you know,
Yeah.
like
It's
No.
yeah. Let's like we have to actually play this again, just this one part, because it is so unreal what she just said about TikTok smashing. Ready, people?
you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza.
Of brains being smashed.
And
Yes.
and no, it's not the problem. The problem is not the carnage in Gaza. It's the smashing in the brains
Yeah.
of said carnage.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, my brain is being smashed by images of a thing that's happening.
Right.
it's Van Jones, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead
Right.
Gaza baby, without
Right.
the Diddy punchline.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. So I want to give
Anytime
data
I
and
try to defend the wall of skulls, they tell me that it's bad.
Yeah.
I can't have a sane conversation with you people. All I'm trying to say is Wall of Skulls looks good.
Yeah.
I'm
Will
just
you
saying-
die-
It doesn't
Dying
look good, but
Palestinians-
it is good. It is
Will
good. Maybe it doesn't look good. That's the issue.
Will you dying, freezing, starving, drowning Palestinians keep it down? I'm trying to have a sane conversation in which you don't exist
Yeah.
with these young Jews who
Yeah.
insist you do.
Yeah.
information and facts and arguments, and they
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene.
You are.
Yeah. That you do sound obscene, but it's because you are. Yeah.
Well, when you're doing obscenity,
Right. Exactly.
that's how you sound.
The incredible thing about Sarah Hurwitz, and we're going to see it throughout whatever videos you promise, but you play for us, I promise. And there's a new one every day, seemingly.
I
Like
know.
Van Jones had the good sense to like fuck up, put his foot in his mouth, and then go away for a while
Yeah.
before his
Right.
next one. Every day a new thing comes out.
Yeah.
It's
But
so
the thing
funny.
about Sarah Hurwitz
To be
is
fair,
that
it's, I think
embedded,
the old things that are being rediscovered or
maybe
like
okay,
simultaneous. Yeah.
sure,
But she is
okay.
on a book tour, and she is in this very like enclosed media landscape where
Yeah.
she's going on podcasts you've never heard of, like
Right.
Jonah Platt's podcast, or I mean, this is the conference of the Jewish Federation of North America. Like,
Right.
you know, she is in a bubble where she's speaking to like-minded Zionist psychopaths
What
who
does
are
that
all
sign
like,
behind her say? General assholes?
what's that?
What does that sign behind her say there?
Yeah,
Over-
general
just-
assholes.
Oh,
Yeah.
general assholes.
Yeah. The
But what
Jewish
I wanted to say is that the thing about her,
Yeah.
the thing about her is embedded in every outrageous, offensive thing. There's always the presence of what should be enough self-awareness to stop herself. Like
Mhm.
right there, she's like, and I sound obscene.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to tell them data and facts and whatever, and they're looking at all these suffering children.
Right.
Mhm.
And you'll see this over and over again. She more than most Hasbarists, she tries to steel man the other side, but because her heart is made of stone, or she's been completely transformed into a Zionist zombie,
Right.
she can't put the pieces together
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
to form a human conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal.
And, you know, I think, unfortunately, the very smart, I think, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit. Because, you know, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing
Okay,
some of our
stop.
young people.
Sorry. I love a but after that sentence.
Yeah.
Holocaust education, absolutely essential. But
But,
there
yeah.
are cases in which it's bad that people associate Holocaust with evil.
Right. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna get to when that is right now. Yep.
People about anti-Semitism because they learn, because Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
We really should have gone with rarely again. I think that would have been a better slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, rarely again. Yeah.
Seldom again.
Never
again.
asterisks again. It's just
Never
like,
too often.
yeah.
Yes.
The footnote on never is, well.
and also, why does she? It's weird that she doesn't just go from like Holocaust to.
Sorry. It gives new meaning to that James Bond film title, right? Isn't it called Never Say Never Again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's really about.
But it's like, it's just unreal. And also it's weird that she goes from like Holocaust to like anti-Black racism to Gaza. Is she trying to like dilute it instead of just going from like Holocaust to the point right now is the Holocaust, it applies right now to the people of Gaza. Is she
what I think what she's objecting to is that anyone says, oh, the Holocaust is like anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
That it has any common
universality. Yeah.
Features.
No, yeah. The only thing it shares in common with anything is October 7th.
That's right.
You can only compare the Holocaust to October 7th.
And that's why Hamas did it, so that Holocaust wouldn't be so lonely anymore.
Yes, exactly. So it could have a friend event. Yeah. And also it reveals a lot about what she thinks about anti-Black racism in that sentence, where she is saying like, oh, you're considering it the same as anti-Black racism, when it's clearly not. It becomes fairly obvious to me that what she's saying is that the people who perpetrated the Holocaust did so for reasons that were irrational. What they did it for, because of conspiracy theories about Jews and whatnot. And of course, that is wrong. To kill a bunch of people for an irrational reason is wrong. But if you have a perfectly reasonable explanation for why these kids need to die, so you can create a wall of carnage, then it's not the same thing. As long as you can Hasbara your way out of it, then you should be able to, continue doing mass atrocities.
The Nazis' core error was underestimating the Jews, misunderstanding them, really, not seeing their potential as Übermenschen.
Yeah.
Jews were not seen or heard in the 1930s in Europe, and
that's right.
And that was a mistake. When it comes to people that you can't misunderstand because they're not people,
right?
It's different.
It's different. It just works different. Works different. Sometimes it's good, is the thing.
Yeah.
And she really is like coming at it from a place of it being, she's in a bubble. Like I said, for everyone, it is common knowledge that the Holocaust was the most important event in terms of like carnage, death, and evil. And it stands in a league of its own as an evil thing that happened. And everything else is piddling compared to it. And it's just it's just dripping in disdain for the very ideology that a lot of these liberal Jews claim to represent and believe in, like this idea of like racism's bad, bigotry is bad, sexism's bad. All of that to them, they will willingly throw away.
Yes.
If you so much as suggest that, the category of anti-Semitism and the category of anti-Black racism is somehow similar. You can't even say it's similar.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
Much less say that blacks in America suffered 400 years.
Yes, far worse.
Of far worse treatment.
I mean, it's not a fucking contest, but the idea that like I'm sorry, but I grew up being like, as soon as I heard about 400 years of slavery, I very quickly was just like, yeah, you know, that's listen, who's comparing? That's always been the default. Like, well, let's not compare. We've all suffered was the point. Now we're at the point where we're like, that's nothing compared to this. It's like, that is.
Yeah. And it's just so weird that it is interesting that she goes out of her way to kind of ironically universalize what ways the Holocaust should not be universalized.
Yes.
So like,
yes.
don't compare it to Gaza, obviously, but don't even think you can compare it to, like, don't even compare anti-Semitism to racism, right?
Right. It's not.
She also
yes.
is overtly saying that the point of Holocaust education is to combat anti-Semitism.
Right.
Now, obviously, you and I think we'd all agree that, yeah, it's anti-Semitism is bad.
Yes.
But in theory, you care about genociding all people, not just this tribe. But again, she does really take the mask down, because these usually liberal Zionists, and I assume she considers herself a liberal Zionist, they usually do try to play up their bona fide fetus as like anti-racists.
Yes.
You know, but she's actually going beyond the Gaza exception. She's not just a PEP, progressive accept on Palestine. She's a PEB, progressive accept on Palestine and Black people.
Yes. Yeah.
More intersectional
100%.
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like she's a progressive except on progressive-ism.
Yeah.
Well, that gets confusing, because unfortunately that also is PEP. So let's take another look at Sarah Hurwitz. This is another speech. No, is this the same? Is this from the same event? I can't remember. Yeah, it's the same event. Okay, but so there's more, guys. There's more. So here she is talking about something that, well, I don't want to set it up, because I want to let people discover the trope on their own. So let's take a look at part 2 of this general asshole Jewish Federation talk. Actually, don't leave yet, because I wanted to bring, I didn't plan this, but it would be really great if you guys met the next guests who I'm going to intro, but especially because do you want me to say this out loud? It's obviously in your Twitter handle, right, Esteban? I'm not like outing you. Okay.
I'm excited.
So, all right. So let's do a full, we have our main kind of like our guest of honor is Butch Ware. And not to make other people feel like insignificant, but dishonored. Yeah.
I feel fine.
We're very excited to have on Butch Ware, and Butch and I are going to have a long, sorry, I'm cold. What is it when it's
wide-ranging,
whirlwinding conversation about everything from Zohran Mamdani to health. I bet you didn't see that coming, to Malcolm X, to Black radical prophetic traditions. And we are going to bring him on, and let's welcome him on. Hello, Dr. Ware. Welcome back, Butch. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Cody. Good to see you again, and good to meet you guys.
You too.
I'm a
Nice
fan
to meet
of the
you
podcast.
too.
You guys
What?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you got to have Dr. Ware on.
Gotta have me on. I'm happy to talk about bad Zionist propaganda. From a Black liberation standpoint. The guy behind me, if you can see Malcolm on my desk, was the one who read me in on how to understand Zionism. So yeah, be happy to talk about what it's.
I can see the episode title already. None the worse for Ware.
Oh yeah, that's good, yeah. Bree had Dr. Ware
that
on.
is a fun, my friend. That is a fun.
10 out of 10. We call that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Is there a little clicking, Brad? Sorry, I'm going to bring on Brad too. Brad, is there clicking? Because unfortunately, Dr. Ware didn't have time to. He's under the weather like I am, and needed to. He doesn't live close to the office, so he didn't want to have to schlep. But
yeah, I don't know what the cause of it, Dr. Ware, is, but I don't know if maybe I would try just leaving the studio and returning, and hopefully that might resolve it.
Katie, I am sorry, but I do need to jump
I'll
off.
also try.
Okay.
I've got another audio route that I can use as well, so let me know if that's necessary.
yeah.
Okay.
It was great to meet you, Dr. Ware. Please do come on the podcast.
Yeah,
We'd
love to
we'll
have
set
you.
that up.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I
And
just want to bring.
Hopefully we can get
Let me just. Yes, definitely. And I just wanted to say though that Esteban Girón, who I'm just briefly, this is your fault, Daniel, because you brought up ex-gay conversion therapy, and guess who has 2 opposable thumbs and many more digits on his hands, and did ex-gay conversion therapy for 7 years. That guy.
You have to point with your thumb.
Congratulations. How'd it go?
Oh,
Oh,
you're
you're
muted.
muted.
I
They took
assume
your
what he
voice.
said is-
They stole your voice.
Can't unmute
There
your
we
guest
go.
because you okay, great. Yeah. Yeah.
I said I failed miserably. Thank God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well
thank
done.
God for that.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet
Yeah,
you as
pretty
well, and thank you everyone out there. And Katie, love you. Thank you
I
for
love you
having
guys
us
too.
on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. And make sure you subscribe to them. Yeah. So let's see. And Brad, if we need to, I'm going to text you and Butch so that if you need to talk to each other. Yeah. So let me just do that 1 second. Okay. I'm doing this. Let's see. Brad. Okay. Now you'll see each other. Connecting you two. Okay. So actually, this is pretty. This works because I wanted to do kind of a special segment. I know that. So full disclosure, as we're going to get into soon. Oh, sorry, and Esteban. Sorry again. I'm a little. Have a bit of a cold, so a bit of a head cold here. But Esteban is a housing organizer with the Crown Heights Tenants Union, and so Butch Ware has a scathing critique of Zohran. A lot of people do for different reasons. Butch and I will disagree a little bit, I think, about Butch's position on the Trump meeting kind of definitionally or essentially. But I think there's a lot of really important critiques to be made about Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, and especially in the area of housing, which is something that's not really my lane at all. And I actually saw Kate Willett, who we've had on the show before, the great comedian and podcast host, co-host of Dystopia Now. She had a tweet very critical of some of Zohran's announcements and transitions. So, Esteban, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of good in the transition team. There are lots of fellow organizers and people that I respect and that have done really great work as organizers. But then there are some head scratchers that I'm wondering what the purpose of having them on this team, like the people that are already like Jed Walentis from Redney, which I just don't know that we need somebody from the Real Estate Board of New York on our mayoral transition team. They're going to be around enough. I don't think we need to give them any more of a platform than they already have. And then there's some folks, Anne Marie Gray, who was 3 years mayoral senior policy advisor at City Hall. Not really anything different than what we have right now, and is also the executive director of Open New York, which is a YIMBY organization that advocates for a ton more market rate housing and things that are going to displace Black and brown working class tenants all over New York City. So we don't want any of that. And then we've got shout outs to Charlie Dulick and Sia Weaver, Olivia Lehrer, Alina Shen. These are all organizers that are solid, that have been in the movement for a long time. I know that they're going to do the right thing when it comes to housing. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of like technocrats, people that I wouldn't, that I think have enough say already as it is at City Hall, that I don't think are really necessary to have in this context.
Right. Yeah. And we're just going to bring in Dr. Ware and see if this works. Oh, there's an echo here.
Hopefully this one. Oh, let me work on that.
Yeah. Maybe there's multiple. Brad, do you want to like open up a new window, like a new StreamYard thing where you like literally like practice it with him in another one? Do you know what I'm saying, Brad?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Or maybe now it'll work with the headphones. Let's see.
Yeah, hopefully we can.
He's
that should solve
again.
it. Yeah, Dr. Ware, if you let me know if you need any help, but you just need to
unmute yourself.
Select your audio, select your speaker to be your headphones. But let me know if you.
Okay, he unmuted. Okay, no. So yeah. Well, this is a good musical thing. So Brad, you're gonna have to call him, obviously. Sorry.
Okay. All right. We'll take care of it real quick. Right. No problem.
Okay.
All right.
So, all right. So tell us about, these terms get thrown out a lot, but I think it is confusing for some people. Oh, wait, someone said, why is the aspect ratio all wrong? So right now there are two options. One is vertical and one is horizontal.
Do I have to pick?
Yeah, I guess you do have to pick. Yeah. Oh, by the way, yeah.
So I guess I'm looking at the wrong.
No, you're good. Are you looking at a vertical or horizontal?
I see two side by side. I see myself on one vertical and one
Oh, okay.
horizontal.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. This is so dumb. I'm gonna ignore this Deborah person. She goes, you can't answer because you know I'm, and then it's like smiley face. I think she means I'm right, but I'm gonna ignore it. Sorry, I gotta ignore this comment. Katie, no matter what some commenters say, you've never answered the question as to why you think you're Jewish when you were born and raised in the States without Judea. All right, that makes no sense. All right, anyway, thank you for making the case for me that you're not the sharpest tool in the box. Okay, all right, now I'm gonna follow Brad's advice and not look at them. Look at
And
the chat.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interject, Katie, but just so you know, in order for me to do what you had suggested, I have to leave.
Yeah.
That means that the clips that I have queued
Yeah.
up and everything are probably not going to be.
That's fine. We don't need to show them anyway.
All right, I'll be
This part,
quick.
yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
thanks. Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Great. Okay. All right. So talk us through YIMBY and NIMBY. And what, because a lot of people will say that there's like an intra-left debate over stuff and making housing affordable and available. So walk us through this.
Yeah, so I guess there is an intra-left
Yeah,
debate.
yeah.
It is relatively, I'd say probably, at least in New York, maybe 4 or 5 years old, longer than that in California. It originates out of the same abundance folks in California that are, tech bros that put a lot of money into creating something that was going to seem like a grassroots movement, but it's not. It's total AstroTurf, pro-developer. They basically say that removing regulations and allowing for a great deal of increase in supply of market rate housing will eventually filter down to us poor folks that are living in the boroughs, and that eventually 20 years from now, all this new housing is going to create affordable housing for us. So, which is offensive in and of itself, just as a rule, but it doesn't work. It may work in some places, but every study is going to tell you the same thing, that like more supply means lower prices. But we're talking about real estate here, and we're talking about greedy developers that are going to raise prices no matter what you put in front of them. They're always going to increase the prices. So like in the same, it's interesting because this, Zohran is very clear on the mandate for lower rent, or at least a frozen rent, and at the same time seems to be pretty sympathetic to this talking point that we need a ton more market rate supply, and we don't need more market rate apartments in New York. We have a ton of empty apartments already. They're all luxury apartments that people can't afford. We need more affordable apartments. We need things that are at the actual income level that it has the greatest need. And so it doesn't really make sense to, but it's I guess it's hip right now. I don't know. I feel like the YIMBYs infiltrated DSA. They infiltrated the housing movement.
Yeah.
They found their way. They didn't infiltrate the tenant unions. The tenant unions are also solid. They stay solid. And a lot of the older the older organizations like Met Council on Housing, Tenants and Neighbors, New York Communities for Change, that they've not been infiltrated that way. But some of the the younger folks are sympathetic to that talking point for some reason. Yeah, I mean, the abundance people make it sound really great. Like they make it sound like it's a, but it's just neoliberal centrism. It's like it's nothing. There's nothing new about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's I think that people, I mean, are saying that he sprinkled in some really good people, but I think they see it as a scary sign of like capitulating to real estate industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been having a lot of conversations, obviously, with people in the industry, and it is true that to some level, the people that are going to build are going to be those people, but the city can be building too. You could stack the administration, HPD, Housing Preservation Department. You could stack that with people that are going to actually use the money that we have to build our own affordable housing, to build more public housing, a new model of public housing even. And to acquire old buildings that are in distress. These are all things that we can do, but we can't be talking to Rebney to do it. That's not what they're not interested in the demographic that's gonna, that voted for Zohran, basically, like the ones that really drove the campaign on the rent freeze pledge. So I think it's you know, I mean, I think the way that I think about Zohran is, I've known Zohran for 5 years since he was first elected to the assembly. Has always done right by us in Albany. I've never had an issue with him going rogue on some legislation or anything like that. But it requires pressure. I mean, politicians have to be kept accountable. That's our job. And so, you know, I don't think that criticizing, you know, the transition team or criticizing anything that he does really is in any way a negative thing. I think it's just part of like, it's our civic engagement. It's what we do. And I think it's what we have to do to fight for, you know, I think it's what he would do if he was in, and has done when he's been in our shoes. I don't see him as somebody who's going to be mad that we're like criticizing, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the point. Like, we're supposed to do that. So.
Right. Yeah. In fact, it's like that famous thing, apocryphal or not, of you know, FDR saying that go ahead and make to Philip Randolph, right? Saying, go ahead and make me do it. Like, we need politicians. If we don't apply the force and pressure to politicians from a good direction, then they just don't have any counterbalancing pressure to the bad direction that's coming from.
And yeah, somebody else is gonna take. And you know, I think it's one of the things that people need to remember when we're talking about Zohran. And this is something that we learned. And I say we, like the tenant movement and the electoral work that we've also done over the years, is like, sometimes it's not that hard to get somebody elected, but to keep them on your side, to keep them in your corner once they are elected is much harder. It requires a whole lot more organizing, much more sustained effort to really like make sure that they remember who they're there for. You know, it happens here all the time. People go to Albany and they sort of just disappear into the void of Albany, and then, you know, next thing you know, they're doing stuff that you're like, what the hell's going on? Like, how could this happen? But it's because we are really good about that moment of getting that, you know, that win, and then not taking it through to the actual work, which is like the daily slog of like calling their office, keeping them accountable, calling their office, and making sure that they're doing what you elect them to do. So I also would have liked to have seen more, probably more tenants, like actual. I think it's a little missing in terms of NYCHA. There's nobody from Section 9, like say Section 9, and just, you know, regular tenants, because the housing affordability affects us the most. It impacts us the most, and so I think that we are the most qualified to run these policy discussions. And a lot of times, you have people in policy, people that do policy, and that's great, but like they're not the constituency. Like, they're not the people that have to live with these decisions. So. You know, overall, again, like I love what he did with the community organizing department. There's some like amazing folks there, tenants like Joanne Grell and Sumiti Kumar, Julie Shu from CAV, like just incredible organizers that I'm happy to know that they're going to have his ear, and that he has, you know, he's going to have good people surrounding him. Then also, like, you know, we're talking like 400 people, like it's a ton of people. So I think that, you know, I'm not too concerned about him giving too much, paying too much attention to somebody like the guy from Rebney. Like, I think we can drown him out. But I think people who thought that this was going to be like an easy task, and that like once we got Zohran elected, it was going to be like home free, like, you know, and freeze the rent, everything's going to be great, and it's not. It's going to be a tough road, and maybe even harder than what we like, because we're used to kind of just giving up on City Hall. Like, we've not really been like engaged at the level where like we could, you know, call Mayor Adams. Like, that's like not a thing that we could do. So I think now we have actually like a little bit harder of a task in front of us than we did, you know, for the past 4 years. So.
Yeah, one of the interesting comments from Kate Willett, who I mentioned before, is that she's kind of worried that she said something like she tweeted something like, when Bill de Blasio capitulated to real estate, DSA was there to like challenge him and call him out, and she's worried that DSA won't do that with Zohran.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sort of, and this happens on the left, and in housing circles too. There's this sense of like, we don't want to like cannibalize ourselves, or we don't want to, and I don't think that's historically that hasn't worked. Being quiet and trying to do things in, you know, like, we have always won when we were bold and you know, we were boisterous and we were really clear about the things that we wanted. There's no reason not to do that now. I think, you know, the Post is going to write what the Post is going to write. Like, the people who already don't take us seriously are not going to take us seriously. But I think DSA does need to, you know, and I'm a member of DSA. I'm on electoral working group. I supported Zohran as well, and I think that we need to keep keep at it. Like, I don't think that criticizing is a bad thing in this context, and I think we need to normalize it, so that we're not like I don't want to have a situation where he goes without knowing what is supposed to be happening or what should be happening, based on what his constituents wants, and then like, again, we lose them. We could lose them in 2 years, and then like we're back to square one. I feel like it's worth keeping engaged and doing everything we can to keep pulling them to the left, because in that situation, like, a mayor is bound for centrism, and like that's not what people voted for. And so, if we want to even think about a potential 8 years of Mamdani, I think that we have to do this. I think that if we don't, we're not going to get that. We're going to get a weak, very, very weak sauce Mamdani that we don't want, and that's not going to be inspiring to people. I think in 4 years, people are going to want to either go in the opposite direction or do some sort of something centrist. So we have somebody that can actually like do the left thing. So why not actually try to do it?
Right. I just want to actually show you and Dr. Ware a clip. Brad, I just want to make sure you have this clip. This is one of the clip moments from the meeting between Zohran and Trump. And I can also play it from mine. Nate, can you tell me if me and Brad, if the thing I just sent you is in the document, that link? Yes, it is. Okay, in Esteban section. Okay, so Brad, you should have that, and I just sent you the link. So let's bring in Dr. Ware, bring him back, and we're gonna play a clip. And this is, I think, where you guys, Ware, that's funny. But welcome back, Dr. Ware.
Thanks. Hopefully the sound issues are resolved.
It's great.
You're good.
Yeah. So this is an issue where I think both of you will probably be critical. But before actually we get to that, I just wanted to ask you, Dr. Ware, and I think you'll have some disagreement with this, Esteban. So Butch, I want to ask you, you described Zohran's meeting with Trump as playing footsie with fascists. So I have two questions for you. Do you think that is inherent, like, to meeting with Trump? In other words, like, is anything that's not an adversarial meeting with Trump playing footsie with fascists, in your opinion? And then I want you to hear your response, Esteban, after that.
Well, so I mentioned it in passing in a social media reel, that there are two basic issues from my standpoint. The first is that there is no socialism that's possible inside a fundamentally capitalist party, and that there is also no revolutionary potential in the current iteration of Mamdani's engagement. So from my standpoint, I would take a meeting with Trump if and only if Trump desists from like federal kidnappings of people in my state if I'm governor of California. I think it's absolutely crucial to take an adversarial relationship with actual fascists. And if you believe that Trump is an existential threat to democracy such as it is, then for me, it's not good optics to be standing there creating smiling photo ops. And I think that people are not taking seriously the moment that we are in. That's my opinion.
And Butch, if you can just like close any other programs, because you're a little laggy. The sound is great, but it's a little bit laggy. So any other windows or tabs or programs besides Chrome, that would be great.
Okay,
but we heard you. I just want to make sure as sharp as possible. So Esteban, what's your response to that?
I mean, I absolutely hear that. I think that there's a valid critique. I think that just based on the way that I've heard about the exchange and what I've seen, it seemed to me like what he was doing was trying to secure what is a significant amount of funding that New York City gets for housing, for basically everything that we do that we need to run the city. And I think that that necessitates some sort of interaction with Trump. I was quite taken aback by the way that it played out, and I still haven't decided how I feel about the whole exchange. There are some really funny aspects of it, and then there's not funny aspects of especially the things having to do with immigration, which is affects people in my family. But I think that it would have been hard for him to not have that meeting if he the amount of funding that New York City stands to lose, like just by the word of the president, is significant. And I don't know how you reconcile those two things. He's also at the same time indicated that like some of the raids that have happened on Canal Street and in different places would actually require the NYPD to arrest those agents. And that's something that I think hasn't really happened in any other city and could end up being a significant shift in the way that these, that the whole ICE thing is playing out. So we also haven't been really subject to some of the worst of that yet in New York City. It's happened in LA, it's happened in Chicago, it's happened in other parts of the country, but we haven't been like seeing it in the way that others have. And I think that would make a difference too. I don't know how much of it he's seen in person necessarily. So I do I hear the critique, and I think that yes, normalizing anything with Trump is dangerous. It could be, and it could backfire. But I think he was in a difficult position, and I don't know how much differently I would have done it. I do wish they hadn't have talked about real estate, because it is not great to walk out of a meeting with the most notorious real estate developer and be in agreement about what housing is going to be like in New York. That is very frustrating and very scary. To think that that's something that they agree on. I don't think that they actually do agree, but I think the fact that they could walk out of there and say this is the one thing that we actually are aligned on is very disturbing. So something to pay attention to.
If I could jump back in, so my view, just to make it a little more textured, I think that in isolation, there would be different ways that you could read Mamdani's engagement with Trump. But when it's situated against him also trying to keep Chiose from running against Hakeem Jeffries, he's now court and endorsed Hakeem Jeffries, who is a murderous Zionist who has accepted almost $2 million from Zionist funding sources. This is after he would apologize for calling the NYPD racist. As a Black man, I've got a serious problem with that. This is after he's made a series of concessions, and he was winning and running away with things. So my concern is that why run to the center when you hold the hammer, when you actually have constituents behind you, and you have run out in front of the pack by being at least a progressive populist, if not an outright leftist. And for me, I just want to be clear, I am rooting for Mamdani. I have mutual acquaintances in the New York City Muslim community that vouch for his personal integrity and character. But I believe that if you want Mamdani to do well, then hold him accountable. And instead, what I see is a lot of stand behavior from the vote blue no matter who crowd that will, instead of like pressing for accountability, like, what is the explanation of Hakeem Jeffries' position? What's the rationale behind this particular approach to Trump? No communication with the base on those things. And instead, what it looks like for all the world is that it looks like another Bernie Sanders AOC style sheepdog operation, which is that somebody emerges with a series of apparently leftist policy position. As they reach a position of authority, the Democratic Party pushes them right. And the last thing that I'll just say on this is that my colleague Dylan Rodriguez at UC Riverside, he put it, I think, best. He said the Democrat Party is the most effective counterinsurgency organization ever to emerge in modern history. This is where revolutionary change goes. So when I see people that are moving in that way, especially when they're people that I have other reasons to root for, then I'm gonna hold their feet to the flames.
Right. Yeah. Butch, do you mind refreshing again? Because there's a real delay, and what you're saying is so good. And every minute we lose like a couple of seconds of what you're saying. So we're gonna have to use AI.
I'm concerned that we've maybe had a little bit of an issue here on campus with our internet network, but I will try to refresh and see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe it's a Mossad trying to silence you.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And I think transparency in that sense is key here, in particular when it comes to the things like Hakeem Jeffries and the it was part of the endorsement vote for Chi, for example, like the that DSA did.
And by the way, just so people know, Chi Osei was going to primary Hakeem Jeffries, right? And
Yes.
he sought the endorsement of DSA. Although from what I've heard, he hasn't been in DSA very long, or he doesn't have that much. You
Right.
can clarify, but yeah. That's something I would love to hear about. So basically, to summarize, Mamdani will not back Chi Osei's challenge of Hakeem Jeffries, House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the vote was very split in DSA, and I can't really talk about the the process in between because we're sort of sworn to secrecy on that. But there's the question is still out on whether that
like
was
white smoke coming out of the
exactly. It's just like that. It's just like the Pope. But it was not a settled thing, and it is not a settled thing. I mean, it was very close to half of the DSA membership was in favor, and then a little bit more than half was not. And so, and all for different reasons. I've heard all sorts of different reasons. Yes, the amount of time that she has spent in DSA is limited, and he's been around for a while now. Crown Heights Tenant Union is within his district, and so we've worked with Chi quite a bit since he was elected, and also tends towards the YIMBY sort of standard, and so like that's something that we'd like to see different. But again, we hold him accountable. Like we're very clear with Chi, and he's the kind of person that we have been able to move on different things. And so yeah, I mean, I think especially when it comes to Jeffries, because Jeffries is incredibly popular in certain parts of our district, or like I'm the neighboring congressional district, but there's just a lot of people, and primarily in the public housing areas, in the areas with a lot of rent stabilized tenants, primarily where you have working class Black and brown folks. That's where Hakeem is popular, and so it makes a very difficult messaging sort of thing for a campaign, because we know what Hakeem is, and like what he represents, who he works for, but it's hard to tell, like, the aunties and grandmas on the block that's what, like, we had that issue with Andrew Cuomo too. Like that was a thing that we had to like fight against. They're very entrenched. The Democratic Party is very entrenched in these neighborhoods. They've done decades and decades of work. The political clubs have been very are very influential here. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's important for those things to be voiced. I want people to be talking about I love the footsies with the fascist comment, because it's an interesting visual, but those things need to be said, and we generally tenants we tend to be the ones to say it, because we don't really have we don't really have anything to lose in these situations. We're not in a situation generally where we're political darlings, or that where people are actually paying much attention to us. So we do say pretty much whatever we want. So I think that you'll see a lot more of that. I think also people are very, we're still dealing with Eric Adams. Like I'm working on an Airbnb campaign right now to try to stop Airbnb from taking over tons and tons of tens of thousands of units of housing in New York, and so we're still like in the middle of crisis and hoping to move into like not crisis with Zohran's policies and and a rent freeze and everything else that he has promised. But I think that the more I hear, the more I'm realizing that we're going to be we have our job cut out for us. So we're going to have to do a lot of work no matter what. And we want him to win. Like we want him to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, and he is a lovely man. He's a very nice guy. Has always been incredibly I wouldn't say radical, but like he's the person that you get arrested with. Like he's the person that puts his body on the line. Like he's that guy. So I'm hoping that that we're able to remind him of that and keep him accountable to us and not to the people who are trying to woo him away right now. So
yeah, I mean, I did have my suspicions when I had him on before he was running for mayor, and it didn't bode well that he didn't come back on the show during this campaign. I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's definitely a bad sign.
I saw the writing on the wall. Yeah,
Red flag, Katie.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's watch this one clip. Brad, you have the clip, right, that I texted you and Nate about? Yeah. So let's watch this one clip in which Trump and Mamdani talk a little bit about housing and real estate?
I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing. Yeah. That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect.
So, can you break that down for us, Esteban, and then, of course, I'll ask you, Butch, about your thoughts on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's well. First of all, for Trump to be talking about lowering rent when his family was famously sued for fair housing violations and not renting to Black folks in the 60s and 70s, and he's the landlord, he's the guy, he committed fraud in a tremendous number of ways. So to hear him say anything about lowering rent is just it's beyond pale. But I think that was the moment that I cringed, right? That for him to say that we agree that that building more housing is going to lower rents, and it's just the sheer and to see Zohran not even flinch at that is very concerning. Nope. It's very concerning.
Yeah, well, and what does that signify? From the housing perspective, what does that mean?
I mean, that means that
we build more housing and rent goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about specifically about removing regulations that right now in the city charter allow for community input in everything that's rezoned. So in New York City, when you have any sort of new construction, it can either be as of right, which means they can just build what it is, and there's a limit to all across the city. There's different limits, height and density and all of that. They're talking about in situations where a landlord is applying for doing something beyond what already exists or beyond what is legally allowed. That goes before a board. I'm on that. I'm on the land use committee of my community board. So anytime that there's new construction that happens, it comes before us. We decide, and it's completely advisory. We're talking about a 9-month process where it's literally just community input, and that is what they're saying is the barrier to housing. And he said something also about how developers keep saying that the waiting is what costs the most money. It's 9 months. That's not really what does it. I think developers are. Their interest is in not doing what a community wants. They literally want to come and plow through and do whatever they want. And we're talking about the tiniest, a 9-month sliver of community input where we at least get to have our say and we get to say, this is what you should do. But it does cause some delay. And those delays are what gives us significantly more affordable housing in a particular development. It's what gives us community benefits when we fight for them. It's the only leverage that we have as a community to improve what's going to be probably a terrible project, but at least we get a little bit of something. And they're talking about doing away with that, just that. And so that to me is very problematic. And I would definitely want Zohran and folks that are doing his housing policy to rethink that as much as possible, because that's not going to work. And we're also not going to stand for it. I mean, I think that you're going to see the tenants that have been backing the campaign. If they see that happening, they're not going to be quiet about it. We're not like the quiet let's just let them cook kind of people. We're definitely going to say something because it directly affects us right now, and will displace us if we don't if we're not careful. So
right, yeah. What about you, Butch? Anything you want to say about either that issue in particular or anything else that was said during that clip, or more generally just about this?
Well, I had the same cringe moment that Esteban had, and it's around essentially the idea that building more is the solution to the affordability crisis. We hear the same rhetoric from the Democrat gubernatorial candidates here in the state of California, and this is actually just code word for neoliberal jargon. What's really being masked is that building more is more taxpayer subsidized handouts to developers to develop affordable housing units where they might build 100 units and 10 of those units will be affordable housing, and then after 10 years those will go back to market rate and we will have subsidize a massive handout to developers. And the thing is that this is not any kind of solution to the affordability crisis. What's causing the affordability crisis is that Blackstone is purchasing massive amounts of single family properties, and BlackRock is purchasing massive complexes in a state like California. In the Bay Area now, people are saying it could be up to a quarter or a third of the properties, and they're playing games with the books and keeping properties vacant in order to spike those rates. And we know that every time there's $100 median increase in the rent, there's a 9% increase in homelessness, right? So what's happening is it's not just an affordability crisis, but it's directly connected to driving this homelessness crisis. What I would do, what I've been running on, is not to give more handouts to developers like Trump. Like, it should really freak you out that this real estate developer, thug, criminal, landlord thinks that these are solutions. Because what I would do is tax the shit out of Blackstone and BlackRock for all of these vacant properties that they're holding until they can't wait to sell them to the state of California at a lower rate. And then I'm going to do what they do in Vienna, which is to have between 43 and 60%, depending on which metric is used, of the units that are on the rental market be owned by the state and operated at cost rather than for profit, which serves to put a direct market check price gouging that takes place in the quote unquote private sector. But the problem is, and this is the problem, the reason why Democrats and Republicans can be smiling next to each other in those pictures is that neoliberal economics are the economic model of both parties. It means let the private sector eat first. And if all you have is a hammer, then every problem is going to be constructed to look like a nail. If everything that you do is designed to feed the private sector first, then your solutions are going to feed the private sector. So for me, that's not a solution. It's just more of how we got into the problem in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good that you bring up Vienna, because that's Zohran is actually well aware of that model. And there was a trip that was taken a couple of years ago to support that. And we have legislation for social housing development authority. But you're right. I mean, like that, what's happening right now is that, you get something like 80-20 housing, where the state takes 35 years of taxes completely off the table and like just forgives those, so the developers can build a tiny amount of unaffordable housing. And again, it's built for people who don't live here already. Right? It's built for people that are going to come in and have like really nice jobs and have like median income, and like it's not built for the working class Black and brown folks that are already here. And that's I think the overall problem with that. California did create this YIMBY problem that we have. It came from you guys. You guys did this. Came out of San Francisco. And
don't look at me, man.
No, the YIMBYs in California are different. Like here, they've at least they've learned to incorporate tenant protections into their whole like shtick. Basically, that's the way that they've managed to like work their way into the movement, by saying, all right, well, we're going to have development without displacement, and we're going to support rent stabilization instead of saying that that it doesn't work. And so it's a little bit of a different vibe, but the end result is still the same. It's still housing that's not affordable for people who already live here. It means that stuff's going to literally housing trickle-down economics is what it is. Like the easiest way to put it, that's literally what it is. Like that in 20 years, like we're all going to get displaced now, but in 20 years, there'll be some affordable housing for the people that are left over. And it's just, we're not willing to like give up our homes like that. We're not going to do that. So I think that the the way that we undo that, and the way we're going to have to like convince Zohran otherwise. I don't see any other way around it. I mean, there's influence from people that are, and most of these people are like quote unquote policy people. Like it's rare to find a tenant who's done any sort of organizing or work in the movement that supports any of these policies. It is straight up people that like have think tanks and like are sitting in an office somewhere trying to decide what's good for tenants, and like not the tenants themselves. Like you will not find a mass of organized tenants that are like, yay, market rate development. Like it's just that they do not exist as much as folks would like them to. So yeah, I think the problems that California has are similar, different in some of the nuance, but like we're still talking about like basic neoliberal economics that it just hasn't worked. And like you're just repackaging it and making it like palatable to like 20 somethings that are moving here now, but like it doesn't really change anything. And until we change that, until we change the conversation and start really talking about building our own housing and really talking about building new public housing, new social housing, acquiring these buildings and taking them out of the hands of private landlords, and like just not letting them be slumlords, and taking them and turning them into new public housing, turning them into co-ops, turning them into things that are tenant run and that are affordable in perpetuity. Like that's the only way that we're going to get out of this crisis. And I think that there's enough people in Zohran's orbit that are aware of that, at least. There's this weird crossover between the people that are like super YIMBY and then like the sort of social housing people. So I don't know how that gets resolved, but somewhere in there is some solutions that I think can actually make a difference in the next, even in the next 4 years.
Yes. By the way, Brad has a question that I'm going to read for you. He wants you to speak about how IMO, in his opinion, the insight that are talking about NYC ballot initiatives didn't have any sort of public discussion informing of voters. So most people had no idea how to vote.
Yeah, so both organizations that I'm a part of, the Crown Heights Tenant Union and also Tenants Political Action Committee, both put out statements about the ballot measures. The ballot measures were created by Eric Adams, people that he hand appointed, like people that are allies of his. That it was his wish list for what he wanted in terms of changes to the city charter, and the changes were primarily in ULURP, the Uniform Land Use Review process, which is the process that I was talking about before, that that community boards engage in to approve new housing, and completely advisory process. It took away a lot of the community input that we had, and so we couldn't support it. We saw the language was very, very vague. It was very easy. It's going to be very easy to twist that into something that could be pretty detrimental. Like I'm actually pretty concerned about the outcome of that of the ballot measures, and they were purposefully sort of mischaracterized. Like who's going to say, like nobody's going to say like it's bad to fast track affordable housing, but that's not what that did. It's really not what that did. It was very much a way for developers to get around the process that exists, and the process that exists is there because of years and years and years of community advocacy to give us at least a stopping point in the process where we can say, no, what you're going to build here is not going to help us. Why don't you do this? And then sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But like to even take away the possibility of it was and to see how many people voted for it, I think had a lot to do with I mean, it was clear misinformation that what was being put out there.
I just wanted to jump in and just say really quickly, as a person who lives in Brooklyn and who voted on these initiatives, and I'm not saying I'm the smartest person on earth, but I like to think I at least pay more attention than the average person walking around on these things. And I found it virtually impossible to really get a straight answer as to like what the implications were of these various things. And honestly, at the end of the day, because I had to vote, what it came down to for me was I'm like, all right, well, this is coming from Eric Adams, and I don't trust that he's on the up and up here. And I don't feel good saying this, but like that was basically the basis of me voting against it, was simply because I didn't trust who it was coming from, not because I could tell you the reasoning behind it. You know,
that's a good instinct though, because that's correct.
but I'm thinking like, well, holy cow, if that's what I'm feeling and thinking and what I'm doing, I can only imagine the millions of other people that don't pay much attention to this, or et cetera. And I was just wondering, Dr. Ware, what I'm describing here, do you perceive that sort of thing as an issue in California as well?
Yeah, I mean, the lack of legibility is the point. Everything is actually designed in order to produce low voter enthusiasm, low voter turnout, disengagement from the process. The status quo ante, the state of things as they have been, is the goal. And everything that you can do to obfuscate, like, so for example, in the state of California, we have a gubernatorial primary that is in June, and they turned it into a jungle, primary. They hide it in June when they know most people aren't, like politically engaged. And then it's only the top two candidates advance, which is meant to sort of rubber stamp one blue versus, one red. Now that's going to backfire in this instance because we have as many registered independents in the state of California as we have registered Republicans. So they're very susceptible to an attack from the left. But the point is that everything that they structure is designed to essentially keep people from engaging the process in any kind of substantive way. And I want to go just back to one thing that Esteban mentioned that I thought was really, really beautifully put. Yes, this is the trickle-down economics with respect to housing. Like, it's the hope that, somehow, Reagan, I remember Reagan talking about these things. I know even light skinned black don't crack. Like, just moisturize. Keep at it. But I'm old enough to remember Reagan talking about a rising tide lifting all boats, right? And this is the way that neoliberalism is framed. But the thing is that when rich people have more money, they just buy more boats. It's not a rising tide lifts all boats. It's just more boats. And as a historian, I think that it helps to understand this when this neoliberalism that is now being repackaged by Ezra Klein as abundance, and that is, now kind of being recirculated through liberal, and let's just be honest about this, Democrat circles. Would you like to know what this was called in the 19th century? It was not called trickle-down economics. It was actually called horse and sparrow theory. And so the idea is that you would stuff so much oats that it wouldn't be able to digest it, and then sparrows could pick through the feces to get what they needed to survive.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
The rebrand, trickle down was the rebrand, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that whether it's trickling down or whether you're sorting through the feces, it's all the same toilet. This is all nonsense. And there has never been a case where concentrating wealth inside the ruling capitalist class has ever actually trickled down to benefit any of us, whether it's in housing or anything else. And ultimately, that's the source of my distrust, even though I actually believe that Zohran believes in what he says that he believes in. I just don't believe that you can actually execute any of those things inside a corporate-owned capitalist party, because the money inside the party broke Bernie. The money inside the party broke AOC. And I fear that the money inside the party is already bending Zohran.
Well, I'll get out of here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great questions. Yeah. Esteban, you've been so generous with your time. Any final thoughts for you? And also tell us what you think people can do to hold Zohran's feet to the fire.
So there's lots of things. I'm an organizer, so I have plenty of ideas. We're about to come up on what we call RGB season, which is the Rent Guidelines Board. This is going to be crucial to winning the rent freeze that was promised, and we're going to have to fight for it. So every time there's a hearing, we need people to come out. We need tenants to be out in full force and show, because like a lot of this is Zohran is going to do what we push him to do. He promised the rent freeze. I think that we can do more than that. I think that we can do beyond a rent freeze. We can do a rent rollback. That's actually legal to do. It just happened in Kingston, and the Court of Appeal said it was okay. So we can do that. We can fight for that. I think we need to. I think that people should join any local tenant union. Join together with your neighbors, organize your building. Reach out to you can reach out to us. The Crown. It's www.crownheightstenantunion.org. Reach out to us about learning how to organize your building, fighting your landlord, fighting your representatives, because it is a fight. We're gonna have to fight hard to win these things. And I think that I would just encourage people to not be afraid to criticize and to critique, because that impulse to keep things how they are, or to be, to make sure that nobody can write a nasty article about you, does not get us. It does not advance us at all. Like it does not serve us. We're not going to win if we keep doing the same shit. So
yeah, amen to that. Yeah. And even some people in the comments are like, I can't believe we're already criticizing him. And yes, socialist or sellout was, whatever. I stand by it. There are people calling him that, and there are people who aren't. There are people
that's solid clickbait right there, Katie.
I know it is, right? Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hates the player, hates the game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But the idea that it's too early to talk about this, I think it's absurd. Like, he's the mayor of the biggest city. There are things that have already come up through like the transition team. The Trump thing is fair to critique, even though I probably So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, January 1st is actually kind of too late to get started on the critique.
Exactly,
Everything's already set by then. Right now is when the stuff's getting set. So right now is when we need to say stuff. So I agree.
Well, thank you so much, Esteban, and would love to have you back. And we'll have to talk about your failed gay therapy conversion.
Oh yeah, it's quite a story. It's quite a story. Whole other life, but it's I'd love to be back. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for everything you do. And thanks to Kate Willett and her great podcast, Dystopia Now, for introducing me to Esteban. So welcome, Butch. Welcome to this. You've already been welcome, but now it's more intimate, just one-on-one. So thank you so much for coming on. You're such a fascinating guest. I love talking to you because also the range of your interests and passions and commitments and expertise. So I want to talk to you, actually. We're going to get to the gubernatorial race and why you decided to run for mayor. But you have a course that you're teaching. And for anyone who wants to partake, we can put the link to that. And also, Brad, let's make sure that we put the link to Esteban's organization. And it's called, it's about Malcolm X's speech, The Ballot or the Bullet. Can you give us or about the concepts outlined there, right? So can you give us a brief summary of the speech, its relevance to today, and also the course?
Yeah. So, and it's always good with you, Katie. Really enjoy the conversations every time that I'm on. And apologies for the cold that I've been fighting all
I have
day.
It too, so. And this is Bucky, by the way. You haven't met him before. This is Bucky. I just want to make sure you meet him.
That is a fantastic, keffiyeh scarf. That is beautiful.
Yeah, I thought you liked it. Yeah.
Outstanding work. So the short version is that I'm doing a weekend intensive, and I've done a few of these. We did one called Panther Power, where we actually looked at Huey P. Newton's Revolutionary Suicide, the Black Panther, his book, the Black Panther Party's combination of mutual aid, direct action, and electoral politics. The efforts to do community education on how to hit refresh on the Black radical tradition and the way that we utilize the lessons from it in our contemporary political moment to move our movements forward. Because while some people only encountered me as somebody running for vice president with the Green Party, or maybe are encountering me as a Green candidate for governor in the state of California, my movement commitments are deeper than just the electoral ones. So this we did another one that was on Frantz Fanon and the psychology of revolution, right? About how we undo the traumas of empire and Zionism, and the way that we find ourselves, morally and personally situated to effectively strike. So this one is rooted in Malcolm's 1964 speech, The Ballot or the Bullet. And it's designed actually to directly address the questions that we were just talking about with Esteban. So Malcolm in 64 said that we are going to knock on every door in Harlem and we're going to register every black face behind every door, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. Malcolm was understanding that there was actual electoral strategies that were revolutionary, but they had to take place out of the context of the duopoly. And similarly, Kwame Ture, similarly, Hugh P. Newton and Bobby Seale and other Panthers utilized electoral political strategies as part of their overall Black revolutionary agenda. So the idea is basically to take Malcolm's 1964 Ballad of the Bullet, which he delivered twice, April 3rd in Cleveland, April 3rd of 1964, and then April 12th in Detroit, and use this basically as a way to branch out on how we can utilize electoral political interventions to actually make radical change. And that's also kind of what it was at stake in the conversation with Esteban about Zohran. The fundamental issue of trying to execute change inside the Democrat Party is that they are going to try to make sure that it is reformist and not revolutionary. And, you know, we're bearing witness to the passing in jail of a great Black revolutionary, a great Muslim intellectual, Imam Jamil al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown. And he was another one of these advocates and partisans for truly revolutionary forms of organizing, and that reformism wasn't going to get us free. So while I'm running in an electoral political system, I am not running as a reformist candidate. I'm running as a revolutionary candidate that actually wants to end capitalism, end imperialism, and white supremacy. And I believe that there are tools that the Black radical tradition has given us that will allow us to make the interventions that need to be made against Zionism, against ICE, against the contemporary iterations of these perennial problems which have plagued oppressed communities, indigenous communities, Black communities, and other oppressed communities here.
Yeah, and can you? I was going to ask you about the gubernatorial race, but I also did want to bring this up, and you brought it up. The death, the life and death of the Imam,
Imam Jamil.
Yeah, who formerly known as H. Rap Brown. So can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, I mean, one of the people that I've regarded as a hero throughout my life, I've been blessed to get to know his son, Kyrie. I've been blessed to become friends with his lawyer, Maha al-Khalali, who struggled for years to try to get the charges against him overturned. And just to be clear, so Imam Jamil spent the last couple decades of his life serving time for a murder of a police officer that another man confessed to, right? That it is plain and clear that he was not guilty of this. And there was a 44,000-page file that the FBI had on him going back to before his conversion to when he was H. Rap Brown as part of the COINTEL program that was designed to destroy exactly the kind of Black revolutionary political principles that I'm now, trying to teach about. So for me, Imam Jamil is a hero, both in his H. Rap Brown iteration, right? He was the fifth chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was also the organization where Stokely Carmichael, later Kwame Ture, got his organizing start. He ended up becoming the Minister of Justice in the Black Panther Party, so he was connected both to that SNCC legacy and the Black Panther legacy. He ultimately ended up serving time falsely in the late 1960s, ultimately was converted to Islam while he was in prison. And he became, and this is really, really important, and I'm really glad to get the opportunity to say it, he became, just incredibly well respected as a Muslim scholar and Muslim intellectual, just on the basis of his wide learning, deep understanding of the Quran and the tradition, and also stayed 10 toes down in that Black radical tradition. So he opened a mosque in the West End in Atlanta, in a community that was, plagued with all of the disinvestment, redlining, and all of the other things that our communities were plagued with. And he, literally like helped clean up the community block by block, became this extraordinary, community leader, as well as being a political organizer and prominent Muslim intellectual. And then that's when they locked him up, was when he was in the midst of this incredible second act in his organizing career. And we lost a great man. And we had decades of his, life and teaching and social impact taken away from us. He died of cancer at the age of 82 in a federal prison. And for me, as a Black Muslim, I won't claim the status of revolutionary, but somebody that's been inspired by revolutionary teachers. For me, this is a tragedy because I feel like, collectively, as a society, we did not do enough to free Imam Jamil. And so Allah had to free him. God had to free him. And he's now free for the first time in decades.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because and apologies that I was wanted to make sure that I got his full name correct. And I was looking at the one of the articles I had on him, and it doesn't literally on ABC, it doesn't say once what his chosen name is. It says former Black Panther leader H. Rap Brown dies in prison hospital at 82. And other places, at least when they have that in the headline, they say what his name was later in life. They don't even, like, I did an Apple F, it doesn't appear anywhere near the top, at least. And this is, it's so interesting, the way that that interesting and illustrative and instructive to see the way that headlines are written, and whether it's not naming the later name, not indicating that he was set up, not indicating that, you could read a whole article without knowing that someone else had confessed to the crime. And Brad, if you could
and it was similar.
If you get some images of him as a younger man and not more recently, I'll send you. Yeah, sorry. What were you saying?
No, all I was going to say is it's similar to how when we recently lost Assata Shakur, another one of these great Black revolutionary figures. She was essentially prosecuted again in the press for the attempted assassination that ended her in prison, because that was a hit on Assata Shakur, and she was serving time for a crime that forensic experts made clear that she could not have committed. Right. So there has been this effort to silence in every conceivable way, in life and in death,
right,
those,
yeah, exactly.
Exponents of this revolutionary tradition. So when you told me, when I got a text from you, you were like, I'm hoping you'll be able to talk about Imam Jamil. I was like, God bless you, Katie Halper, because that there's just very few opportunities. And I recall when I was in the presidential race, when I got called on to Democracy Now! For the first time, it was like 2 days after Marcellus Khalifa Williams was executed in Missouri, another Black Muslim man, whose life was taken away by the state. So I had to go on and just make sure that I said it. Just so that it wasn't something that was simply disregarded in the media cycle and moved on. I won't be able to attend the funeral service, which is taking place in South Florida, in Miami tomorrow. I have a special needs son, and I have primary care for him tomorrow. But I'll be there in spirit, and I would just ask that anybody that's hearing this take some time to learn about Imam Jamil al-Amin. He was an extraordinary human being who laid down his life in struggle for liberation, not just of his people, but of all people.
Yeah, and here's an image. There he is. So obviously that is one. A lot of time had passed since those two, but yeah, I mean, just another example of someone who whether it's they're set up and then executed, given capital punishment, or they die in jail. This is such a or they're killed by the state, either like through assassination, execution, or in this way, forced to die behind bars. And who knows how much better medical care he would have gotten outside of prison. Although honestly, our healthcare system is so abysmal that you don't even know. Like, he could have honestly gotten better healthcare in prison than he would have gone out of prison, but it's obviously subpar. I mean, that's an indictment.
Yeah, and for those those of us, there was a great YouTube and website channel, Students for Imam Jamil, Free Imam Jamil. There were a lot of us that have been involved over the past few years in amplifying the messaging about getting him out. And in the past few months, the really messaging was just about get this man the care that he needs, get this man home so that he can transition in the presence of his loved ones. Like that he was never guilty, and he's certainly not a threat in any way at age 82 with a massive tumor on the side of his neck, that's not being treated properly. Like they don't just want to kill Black revolutionary heroes, they want to honor them, and that comes both in life and in death.
Yeah. That really is horrible. I mean, it's doubly horrible because, like, I believe in compassionate release, but he also happened to be not guilty. So it's just, it's awful. It's just so messed up. And it's like there has to be more about that, more kind of public education about this, because I think people who aren't raised as radicals or don't become radical later in life, it's really hard for them to believe that the government would set people up. So I think it's really important. Or there are people who believe the government would set people up, but not the people like him. Like they would think it's like January.
I feel like I feel like it's been an absolute like tragedy and crime against humanity what the genocide in Gaza has done. But I think that the genocide of Palestinians has removed the scales from the eyes of a lot of people as to what the United States government is capable of doing to people, to human beings. And people are starting to connect the dots between the imperialism abroad that's being manifested through the Zionist project and the escalation of fascist repression that Black people have been screaming about, right? From the beginning, and a lot of people forget when we start talking about fascism, like Hitler was an admirer of the American project of, ethnic cleansing, manifest destiny, racial supremacy. Like, we are the original archetype for true genocidal fascism. And now what we're seeing essentially is, those, as Malcolm might have put it, the chickens coming home to roost, this thing that we crafted, cultivated, and grew. We're now returning to the kind of original barbarism, but with the new mechanisms of, Nazism and other fascisms associated with it. So we got a lot of work to do. And when it comes down to it, that's really what my issue with smiling photo ops next to Trump is actually about. I just feel that we need a disposition of resistance and fighting against fascism, not footsie. I mean, I literally just, I improvise that reel. I don't read scripts when I make social media pieces. I say what's on my heart, and I'm standing by that one. You're never gonna catch me playing footsie with fascists. That's not how we were brought up.
Yeah. You just mentioned something that I wanted to talk about, and then of course it slipped my mind. But I'll get back to it. Can you tell us, though, about what motivated you to run for governor and what your critiques of Gavin Newsom are? I mean, we don't have all night, so I guess just some of his worst, greatest hits.
Yeah. I mean, so, the good news for us in California is that Gavin has termed out, so he can't be governor again. The bad news is for America, because he's obviously running for president in 2028. Right. And when you watch, all of his moves in public, they have been clearly, calling his shot, telegramming his move, which is going to be to run for president. So why did I decide to run? When Dr. Jill Stein asked me if I would consider running as the vice presidential candidate for the Green Party, I had to make an assessment of what I thought an electoral political intervention was capable of doing in our contemporary circumstances, because I've been an activist and an organizer and an educator, both in university settings and in community settings, like the class that I'm doing, for my whole career, for my whole life, really. I mean, like I was literally doing like revolutionary third world Marxist Pan-Africanist reading group I was directing one when I was 19. We were reading Walter Rodney and Frantz Fanon and Amilcar Cabral. That, like, this has been my whole life. And so I had to actually interrogate what I thought the utility of electoral politics was. And that's when I first went back to Malcolm's Ballot or the Bullet speech. And I was like, wait, this revolutionary was telling us, he said, we're going to knock on every door in Harlem. And he said, and whatever, he said, we're going to ask, can we see your card? And whoever has not had the responsibility of registering themselves, he said, we might just move you out of town. He said, it's going to be the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet was not just an ultimatum to oppressive white America that Black people are going to have freedom, whether we take it through the ballot. If you deny us the ballot, then we're going to take it through revolutionary means. He was also saying it was a moral incumbency for people in the community who seek to resist oppression to use whatever means are necessary in order to organize. And that included electoral politics. That's when I realized that the Panthers also did this. Bobby Seale ran for mayor in Oakland in 1973. Huey P. Newton ran for Congress twice. They understood electoral political moves as part of a broader revolutionary cocktail. Kwame Ture, who we already mentioned, formerly Stokely Carmichael, he said, voting every 4 years is the height of bourgeois hypocrisy, but I would shed my blood for the vote, and I have, because I know the vote is how I organize my people. Right?
Yeah, wow.
So the idea that all of these revolutionaries had was that political organizing would take place through electoral campaigns, that if you understood elections not to be just ends unto themselves, but as a part of a broader strategy of mutual aid, community care, those hot breakfast programs that the Panthers ran, the medical clinics, if you understood it as something that's meant to go in concert with direct action, with labor action, with strike actions, with boycotts, that you could make fundamental change if you those together. So the short answer to the question is, once I was tagged into an electoral political fight at the highest level running for the White House, it became obvious to me that the next step in order to building a genuine opposition party in this country was to build at a local level in my state. And understanding that Gavin was termed out and that the Democrat field was very weak and vulnerable, it has been a great opportunity to put into practice in the most populous and wealthy state in the union, but also the one that has the greatest wealth inequality, these principles of liberation politics. So we've been, building that in the state of California since I launched the campaign in February. And the result, I hope, is that we are going to turn the Green Party into an actual revolutionary political party that is capable on delivering, actual anti-capitalism, actual anti-imperialism, environmental sanity, and really giving us the robust opposition to fascism that we need. And I understand the Green Party has a lot of work to do in that regard. So I'm not talking about it. I'm just going to be about it and build the political infrastructure that's necessary in order to have this happen.
Do you think, though, that there's I often wonder, and I don't even like saying this out loud because then I get called a lib or a sheepdog, but we were just talking about political prisoners, and someone wrote in the comments, I can't believe that Leonard Peltier was released. And that is something where I truly don't, and that's one person, obviously, but there are certain things that the Democrats are less evil about, right? And I want to be clear, that doesn't mean I don't think that they're evil. It doesn't mean that I don't think they are too close to the Republicans, but is there a way to simultaneously, is it totally mutually exclusive to kind of acknowledge a difference while also trying to grow an alternative political party?
Okay, so there's levels to this. And I'll start at the most lib friendly level.
Which I'm not. I mean, I'm not a lib, but I'm just saying I get called that. Yeah.
I know. I'm just putting this out into the universe in case liberals, we'll encounter this. Even if you don't believe that I can win, which would you rather have in a top 2 primary in the state of California? The Dems having to run against me and therefore being pushed to actually be accountable for the things that everybody wants. Like 88% of Democrat registered voters are in favor of universal single payer healthcare, but the Democrats have refused to deliver on it because it goes against their corporate donor class. So the first part is that even if you don't think that I can win, even if you think that Team Blue is going to come riding to your rescue at some point in time, which is nuts, but even if you think that, then you're going to create a better circumstance if you open the Overton window and put me into that position, rather than having them run against another corporate Republican and be dragged to the right. You're going to get more Dick Cheney, like Liz Cheney endorsements. Sure. You're going to get, more running to go cozy up to fascists. So even if you don't believe, that an independent political party can win, it's better for you, according to the liberal values that you espouse, to have your party pushed to the left than to have them continuously chasing Republicans to the right.
Right.
But with respect to the fundamentals of your question, correct. And that's that ratchet effect, right? They chase the Republicans to the right and then block any progress from the left. So that right now, the current iteration of the Democrat Party is objectively to the right of Ronald Reagan on everything. On everything. Yeah. Right?
Immigration,
and that's
abortion.
how you get there. Correct. That's how you get there with all of those lesser of two evils arguments. So to answer the fundamental part of the question, I'm just going to be blunt about this. I actually do not see a fundamental difference between fascism and fascism. For me, white supremacy, imperialism, and capitalism are the things that are responsible for producing the negative outcomes against Black communities, immigrant communities, indigenous communities. And the way that Malcolm put it, for me, is the most instructive. He said, the liberal is a fox. It bares its teeth. You think that it's smiling at you, but you are on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. When it bares its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the Black man with no illusion as to where he stands. From Malcolm's standpoint, a hidden enemy is more dangerous to you than an open enemy. An enemy that pretends to be your friend, but is actually there to consume you, is ultimately more dangerous. And Malcolm was unequivocal about that. He said in '64 that the white liberal is the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. So for me, mark my word, Gavin Newsom is every bit as dangerous as Donald Trump. And I'll give you another one. That's a sheep and a fox and wolf metaphor for Malcolm. This one is from me. Okay, a sheep is going to spend its entire life living in fear of a wolf, only to be eaten by the shepherd.
Right.
What do I mean by that?
Right.
The Democrats are going to be fear-mongering always about the danger that's out there in order to keep you close, because you are being led to the slaughter. And time again, even measured against the things that they claim to espouse. Like, how did they do in guaranteeing women's reproductive rights? Do we still have those? Or did they play games with those and allow those to slip? Do we still have DEI? Do we still have affirmative action? Give me one thing that the Democrats said that they were going to do for our communities that we still have. Like, I have to go back to like the '65 Voting Rights Act before I can find something tangible and concrete that they have actually delivered and held. So for me, we actually just need an alternative that is not part of that corporate power structure, because ultimately, however they might express politically, if you draw a Venn diagram of the donors to the Republican and Democrat parties, you're going to be staring essentially at a single circle. They almost completely overlap. So for me, the key is to develop an actual resistance to the corporate duopoly, and that's what we're running for.
Yeah. And just to clarify, I realized I was like really vague in my question. So I wasn't, although I think it's worth responding to, because it's obviously a question you get all the time. So you need to respond to that. Like, aren't you helping the Republicans by running? That wasn't even what I was saying. It was more like, I think it's obvious and undeniable that having, people to the left of Democrats helps everyone from libs to actual leftists / the world. But more, I guess, for me, it's not even, maybe this is too intellectual or cerebral a thing, but I find it hard to, and I'm not even defending lesser evilism voting per se. I mean, part of me does think, and maybe this is like, this whole framework is problematic, but the idea of vote swapping. because even if it just means like, I do think that there is 100% a danger with the wolf in sheep's clothing that doesn't exist with the wolf in wolf's clothing. But I think that, like, to continue this metaphor, right? Like, there are wolfier wolves, maybe, and I know it's pathetic, right? But maybe some wolves are more have bigger appetites than others, right? And I know that's like groveling or asking for crumbs, but like, can we at the same time acknowledge a difference? Like, whether it's, Leonard, this is random and it just stuck out in my head, like Leonard Peltier, right? Like, he wouldn't have been freed under Trump. Now, that's one example, but like, is there a way to acknowledge a difference while also just being clear-eyed about it? And again, I don't even know what the actionable thing is here, just to acknowledge that there are differences, even while acknowledging that the Democrats have, and this is part of the honest analysis too, like, the Democrats have enabled the Republicans to shift to the right.
Yeah, so I'll lean on Malcolm, a different one from Malcolm on this one. He said the white man will try to appease us with symbolic victories rather than real economic, social, or political justice.
Right,
So
and there's a reason I gave
there's a kind of performative
example, which is concrete in real life, but it's not changing the system. Yeah,
it doesn't fundamentally affect the system. So for me, the way to kind of A/B test the argument that you're making is actually best done in the state of California, where you have had Democrat super majorities for 30 plus years in the state legislature. The governor's mansion has been run by Democrats in that period, with 2 exceptions. But throughout that period, it's been a state that has been, and really, especially in the last 20 years, completely dominated entirely just by Team Blue. So right now, if you study the wealth inequality metrics in the United States of America, California has more wealth inequality than any state in the union. And one study recently showed that California is tied in the nation for the highest poverty rates with the state of Louisiana. That's all on Team Blue's watch. There are 9 families in Silicon Valley, 9 households in Silicon Valley right now that control $683 billion of wealth. And a few miles away, homeless encampments. There were 120,000 average sleeping on the streets per night 5 years ago. That number's up to 187,000 currently, right? And in that time period, Gavin Newsom has spent $25 billion of taxpayer dollars on homelessness alleviation programs that are literally the handouts to developers that I mentioned earlier when Esteban was on the program, or they're handouts to the poverty industrial complex, to the NGOs, where the CEO writes for themselves a $400,000 a year salary for a poverty alleviation program, right? Because why cure the disease when you can get rich treating the symptoms? Right. Why get universal health care in the state of California when the insurance companies in 2022 laid $2.7 million down on the California Democrats, and they wouldn't even bring single payer to the floor for a vote because they knew it would pass, right? So in the end, the A/B test for me is California, and California has been a more dramatic, theater for wealth inequality than any other part of the nation. How are they going to blame Team Red for any of that? Right. Yeah. How are you going to so that for me is the fundamental issue, is that yes, there are going to be some symbolic pieces and there are going to be culture war issues that are going to cause people to settle on one side or other of the divide, but those are symbolic fights. The material structures of oppression and exploitation that affect working class people are the same regardless of which party is in power. And one could even make the argument on the basis of California that the wealth inequalities are actually more pronounced under Democrats than they are under Republicans. You could make the argument that the warmongering abroad is more pronounced under Democrats than it is under Republicans, because there's an isolationist streak in that America first rhetoric. So for me, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And I really just feel like we just need an option that is not dependent on the same billionaire class and corporate donor base.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interject, but I just wanted to, before you got further past it, to show everyone, to your point, Dr. Ware, what you had said about the Venn diagram. This was the best I could come up with, but it's a
perfect
from 2007 to 2017 donors from the Fortune 500, and you can see this list here. But I think that the summary here, where you see the cumulative here, it's almost 50-50. It would appear to me, and but then also just what you had said right there about the militarism from Democrats. I had the thought that Katie had said a little bit ago about the Democrats kind of facilitating a further shift to the left. That, from my perspective, when I, if the GOP or whatever is warmongering this, that, and the other thing, well, then the Democrats would have two options: one, to pull back against that with equal or greater force. But it seems like they've taken the option of either trying to find a middle ground with fascists, or to get into a contest of, no, we're actually just as warmongery or whatever. And that then like allows them to move even further to the right. And like, you actually need to go even further the other way if you want a chance of, not doing that. But anyway, I just wanted to show everyone that image.
Well, I can't possibly express enough gratitude for you finding the footnotes for my point in real time. Like, that's just like that's extraordinary work. And as a professor that's published academic books with up to 1,000 footnotes in it, like, mad respect and love, for tracking that down. But that's exactly the point. And if I could drive this home for the audience, it's a very simple point. Who funds you runs you. That's it. Yes. The old way of saying it was, the one that pays the piper calls the tune. And so ultimately, the fabrication of a kind of culture war division around topics that do not affect the bottom line in any way, right? That is the entire grounds for the political theater. And since I'm in my office with a lot of African history books on the shelf, it was Julius Nyerere, first president of Tanzania, that said, of course, the United States is a single party state, but with classic American extravagance, they have two of them.
Right.
The idea is straightforward, is that only if you're outside of the system do you perceive them as separate. And you know what's really revealing this in a perverse way is the Epstein files, right? The Epstein files show that this, elite ruling class across Democrat and Republican divides literally lives in a world without laws, without rules, where they can violate every single basic, rule of human interaction, up to and including the violation of children, because they are so secure that their wealth and control over institutions will protect them. And it's showing to people wherever they might be on the ideological spectrum that this ruling class has nothing in common with us. They exist to reproduce themselves as a ruling class, and it doesn't matter whether they're wearing a blue jersey or a red jersey. When the CEO of BlackRock before the election said that from their standpoint it didn't make a difference whether Kamala or Trump won, that should have ended both campaigns. That literally should have ended both campaigns, which were rooted in an ideology of supposedly representing people of color on one side and supposedly representing white working class people that have been left behind by liberal elites. The reality is that the wealth, the power in the country does not care about any of the things that we're discussing. And the last thing I want to say, because I could easily start ranting on this, is that there's an incredible opportunity in front, which is that even in an environment where we're constantly propagandized into thinking that there's such a thing as blue states and red states, which is nuts, right off the top of it. 40% of American registered voters still identify as independents. Only 30% identify as Democrats, 25% identify as Republicans. And even those, so yeah, exactly. But you would never know it from looking at the way that MSNBC or CNN or Fox News covers, but that's coming straight from Pew Research polls. So, and then dig deeper into what's actually in the hearts of your average American voter. So 63% of registered American voters say that these two parties do such a, quote, poor job at, that we need an independent third party. And yet both sides get gaslit into, to affirming the status quo every 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, what I'm hoping to be able to do, and what we've been very successful in doing so far, is just making an appeal that isn't about the culture war, that's just about basic 80, 20, 70, 30 issues in the state of California. Hey, I've got an idea. None of your tax dollars should be used to incinerate children in Palestine. What do you guys think about that? That's an 80-20 issue in the state of California, right? Hey, I've got this crazy idea. I don't think that anyone should go into bankruptcy because of a cancer diagnosis. And I don't think that 30 cents on every healthcare dollar should go to middlemen insurance companies whose job it is to deny you care. What do you guys think? That's an 80-20 issue in the state of California. And when you start to actually look at what is motivating voters, irrespective of those ideological divides, you realize that what you actually have is two far right parties. And the policy positions that are being denounced as socialist are not extreme positions. They're not even left positions, because if you're in an 80-20 issue or a 70-30 issue, you're not to the left or right of anything. You're right in the middle of what the electorate wants. So while we have a lot of work to do to break through the cone of silence that is usually put around Green Party candidates, we've had the advantage of the fact that I got almost 1 million votes for the White House. So we've been able to participate in all of the major candidate forums. And it's just been a bloodbath. Like every single one of those debates, they're just not ready for an actual attack from a non-corporate owned party. And we just actually heard that the major debate that will be live stream televised right before voting opens in May, that we're also invited to that one. And I was like, okay, cool. That's all we need, because that's going to be the end of them. That is going to be the end of it. These are wildly popular policies and wildly popular, sort of disposition that, like, I'm not invested in your culture war. Pray with who you want to pray with, lay with who you want to lay with. None of my damn business. But our job as elected officials is to actually restore power to you, the people, for control over your institutions, rather than have that power resting in the hands of a few corporations and billionaires. Like, it's a slam dunk argument.
Yeah.
Two questions, and then I'll excuse myself again. I really appreciate you taking the time. One was, and I should know this, I apologize, but can independents vote in Democratic primaries or Republican primaries in California?
So that's the beauty of the moment, is that it's a nonpartisan primary. So the nonpartisan primary is actually designed, it's actually designed to make sure that you get one red versus one blue. It's part of their rigging the system. But in a state like California, it can backfire in exactly the circumstances we have, which is that the state leans so far liberal and even left that there are more registered independents than there are registered Republicans. So it creates a lane, quite literally, to get to the second place position in that primary, to create a one-on-one with me and the Democrat, which it looked like for a while was likely to be Katie Porter. Then she really crashed out. That's when Eric Swalwell has now recently got into the race, and he seems to be, getting the endorsement of like the kind of Democrat authorities. But in any case, to create a one-on-one matchup, the one that I was talking about before, literally 17% of the vote was second place in 2022. The cycle before that, 16% of the vote. Cycle before that, a little over 20% of the vote. It is not going to take more than about 1.5 million votes by June 2nd of 2026 to create a one-on-one matchup that the Dems cannot survive. So I don't have to do what Mamdani did and get 50% of a vote in a Democratic primary. All I've got to do is get between 15 and 20% of a vote in an open primary that's hidden in June that has usually low voter turnout. So what we've been doing is building infrastructure for door knocking and phone banking all up and down the state and speaking to bread and butter issues like housing, like healthcare in the terms that I've defined. And I personally think that it's going to be a real bad time for Team Blue when all of the votes are finally counted in early June.
Well, yeah, no, especially if they're getting the endorsement of the, well, as you called it, the Democratic, leadership and whatnot. I was thinking, is that the same leadership that's currently at, 16% favorability or something? Like their endorsement doesn't ring that strongly right now. Not a lot of people really like them.
It's an anchor, like it's a noose, is what that Democrat, and I cannot overstate how people in all kinds of ideological positions, including like lifelong registered Democrats, are just absolutely fed up with the corruption and grift inside the Newsom administration. And ultimately, like, Newsom ran on universal health care and then betrayed the people. Right. He took $1 million from SEIU service industry and then backstabbed them in negotiations. They have cut off the base that used to feed them. There is profound discontent, even by people who identify themselves as liberals. So while this is a clear shot at the champ's chin, and we intend to get in our best shot.
Yeah.
And my super last thing I have, and then I'm out, is just a comment that I wrote to Katie a little earlier. I figured this would be a good opportunity to share here, in my opinion, talking about voters not thinking that it's possible that you would succeed. In my personal opinion, I feel like that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if the voter doesn't believe that it's possible, then they don't go out and they don't vote for you, and then you don't win. And so I think, in my opinion, that's kind of why when you turn on traditional media sources and whatnot, you might notice them pushing narratives that kind of try and foster the belief that it's like, yeah, it's not going to happen, so why even try? But that belief that if you believe it, this is possible, that's what's necessary for people to believe it. And if they do that, I mean, we could have whatever reality we wanted. So anyway,
you're speaking my language, and since Malcolm is looking over my shoulder, and I'll just quote Malcolm. Malcolm said, "We are not outnumbered, we're only out-organized." And then he said, "Never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are." Never let the man that you are against form your opinions for you. Those are his exact words. So you have to understand that the mainstream media establishment, and now the 4 Zionists that have purchased the social media environment, they're doing everything they can to control the realm of the possible discourse, because they know how vulnerable they are to an electoral attack if the people choose. And I'll just give just a simple close to home example. The Green Party almost ended Gavin Newsom's career before it started. A Green Party candidate named Matt Gonzalez got 47% of the vote for mayor of San Francisco in 2003. And he wasn't somebody that had gotten 1 million votes for the White House or been on Breakfast Club. And he was outspent 20-1 by Gavin Newsom's campaign, and they still almost beat Newsom. You'll never know it, right? You'll never know that there are Greens already elected up and down this state. People will forget that Jesse Ventura, running as an independent candidate in the state of Minnesota, beat both the Democrats and Republicans and got them to play nice with each other in order to fulfill a people's agenda once he was the governor. Like, they actually understand how vulnerable they are to an electoral attack. And part of the argument of the weekend seminar that we're doing on the Ballot or the Bullet is that actually what Malcolm said in '64 is even more true now, insofar as the corporate takeover of the mainstream media and the social media environment is so total, and the corporate purchase of the two parties is so total, that elections are one of the few places left where the ruling class is vulnerable. We can, at any point in time, vote the bums out, and all we have to do is not just believe that it's possible. Yes, that's a huge part of it, but organize to make it happen. So that's what I'm doing, and coming into forums like this with the opportunity to like help people understand that the way that they've been conditioned to think about their electoral choices and circumstances is part of a massive psyop that is designed to keep Zionism rolling, that's designed to keep the concentration of wealth accelerating. It's designed to let BlackRock and Blackstone continue to make the American dream unaffordable, and we actually have it within our capacity to stop them. We just have to seize that power back from them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Ware. I'll see myself out. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thanks. Great
My
question.
pleasure.
I just wanted to actually, speaking of Katie Porter, and now who's basically been replaced by Eric Swalwell, but there is a video of her that went kind of viral where she's yelling at a staffer, and I wanted to play that video, and then I want to play a video where she kind of walks out on an interview, and then contrast it to the same interviewer asking you the same question. So let's take a look at this this video that was discovered after she walked out, or tried to walk out. She wound up staying, but after she wound up threatening to leave and got very upset during this interview, people started looking for other instances of her being problematic. So here's the problematic discovery, and then we'll go back to the actual interview that you were subjected to as well.
Our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September. And what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems. And the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money.
All right, so that's someone who claims maybe politically in some ways she's a populist. I think that's kind of betrayed by her personal behavior. Anything you want to say about that, and then we'll get to some more videos. But
I mean, the measure of any human being is character and how they treat the human beings around them. I mean, I think that speaks for themselves. You'll never find a tape of me talking to anybody on my staff like that.
Yeah, that would be very a big surprise if that existed, and I'm sure it doesn't. So let's take a look at another video. This is of Katie Porter, and here she is being questioned by a CBS reporter who basically did it was almost like a mashup of all these interviews with all of the people running for governor. So let's take a look at how Katie Porter responded to this reporter.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
the question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care. I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of, I'm me, I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And I've asked everybody the same follow-up questions.
All right, so that was interesting. And then we're going to get to your response on the same question. Somehow you managed to keep it together. But what is your response to that?
I'll try to keep this brief so we can get to the next section of video. Privilege breeds mediocrity. Okay. When you are never contested, then you never have to be good at anything. And Katie Porter thought she was just going to throw her jersey on the field and that the other team would go home. She thought that because she had name recognition and because 18% of California voters could identify her in polling that took place in February, that she already had the election won and she didn't have to answer any tough questions and that she didn't have to sit there for investigative reports. And shout out to Julie Watts, who handled herself like a pro in that interview. And Julie Watts, I'll mention this, is that when I did my same interview, which she told me when she finished, she said, yours went on for almost 2 hours. She said, I'm going to be honest, nobody else went on for longer than an hour. Your answers to the questions were all more interesting. So I just kept asking, further follow-up questions. And shout to her because she has actually been like making sure that a voice from outside of the system gets included in the conversation. But you saw how Katie Porter just fell apart when asked a softball question about getting some Trump voters on her side. Like you could not possibly have an easier question than that. Yeah, we're welcoming all voters. That would be, great to have Trump voters, join our team. And instead, she literally just imploded. And character matters.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see another way that she could have responded to the same question.
Districting. What is your opinion of the governor's plan?
I'm against anything that disenfranchises Californians. Fred Hampton, who was a great Black Panther intellectual.
Actually, you know what? I realized, can you set this up so people understand the context here and then we'll watch the video?
Sure. Yeah, so there was more than one question. So there were questions asked over an extended period. There is footage of me responding to the question about, those voters. And I basically said we were getting more voters from Team Red than Team Blue. And I'm not leaving any vote unturned because I'm not a Democrat. I don't care. And we expect to get Bernie Trump voters and Trump voters, right? That we're going to recruit those voters. So that's how I answered that question. The question here was about Prop 50. And this one actually, as it happens, ended up getting picked up by a Vote No on Prop 50 group. And they ended up running ads that were literally just me with Green Party next to my name. I got a bunch of free advertising all up and down the state. My students came into class. They were like, Professor Ware, you popped up during my YouTube videos yesterday. So which is great because we don't have, the corporate budget. But I was just asked what I thought about Prop 50, which is the response to Texas gerrymandering by promoting gerrymandering inside of the state of California. So I answered it on the basis of principle, not on the basis of Democrat partisanship. So you can see it from there.
Okay, great.
What is your opinion of the governor's plan?
I'm against anything that disenfranchises Californians. Fred Hampton, who was a great Black Panther intellectual, was killed by police in Chicago. He said, "We don't believe that you fight fire with fire best. We believe that you fight fire with water best." We're not going to fight racism with racism. We're going to fight racism with solidarity. We're not going to fight disenfranchisement with disenfranchisement. We're going to fight it with representative democracy. The Democrats, they don't want the people's voice to be heard. They want to consolidate power. And under the guise of fighting back against the Republicans and fighting back against Trump, you are handing them more power. Well, what have they done to earn it in the state of California? Are y'all feeling that this has been a state that has been well run and for your best interests, that it's working for working people? So you're going to essentially hand them the keys to make sure that they own every district in the state? You imagine thinking that you can fight fascism with fascism.
So, yeah. So can you elaborate on that for people who don't understand? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the Democrats have been every bit as complicit in gerrymandering as the Republicans have, but they don't like to talk about the fact that they have been systematically engaged in disenfranchisement wars, the one with the other. The cure is not disproportionate districts for one side and disproportionate districts for the other so that no third party can ever have a fighting chance. The solution to disenfranchisement is ranked choice voting. The solution to disenfranchisement is multi-member districts. It's proportional representation, which they could advocate for and fight for at any point in time. Those are things that actually increase systems capacity to receive democratic input from the electorate. But the Democrats have been just as devoted to stopping ranked choice voting and proportional representation as the Republicans have, because it takes away the lesser of two evils argument from them. They want everything to be winner takes all. And then they want to, instead of having the voters choose the people that they want the people in office to choose the voters that are in their district. And that's what gerrymandering is. So there has never been, like, I think that Fred, like I said, Fred Hampton said it best. You don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. You don't fight something that is dangerous with another version of the same thing. You fight it with the antidote to the thing that is disenfranchising the people. And I want to say this just for the record. When I was interviewed on that, this was probably in April, I was 95% sure that Prop 50 was going to pass because I knew the Democrats were going to spend, and they spent $300 million just to hold the special election, and then they spent tens of millions of dollars on advertisements. You could not go 5 minutes without seeing a Prop 50 ad. I was pretty sure that the Democrats were going to win that fight. But the thing is that it's not a political decision for me to speak out against gerrymandering. It's a matter of principle. You're either running to restore power to the people or you're running to consolidate it in a party. And if we ever reach the point where the Green Party has enough power to abuse its authority, then come for my ass at that point in time, just the way that I came, for Gavin, right? That it's actually about restoring power to the people. It's not about protecting the vested interests of a particular party.
Well, let's see. We've been chatting for so long, and we are both sick, and so I'm extra appreciative of your your commitment and fortitude. Anything else you want to make sure that we cover? And definitely, you should definitely come back on again, because sometimes it's annoying. I have to admit, like having politicians on, even when I like them, because it feels like such a, like a, no, what's the word? Campaign event almost. But the great thing about having you on is like when you're talking about this stuff, it's just actually interesting and important, and not just like me. So definitely come back on. But yeah, any final things you want to mention?
I would love to come back on. And I'll just say this about what you just said, and then I'll offer like a closing invitation. The first thing that I'll say, and I think that this is important, is that before I got invited into electoral politics, and the reason that I was invited into electoral politics was because I made principled public stands on police brutality, on genocide in Palestine, as a public intellectual for a long time. So unlike some folks who are just running for office, my goals are not primarily electoral goals. My goals are about us getting free, are about us getting free from imperialism, free from corporate exploitation, free from fascism. And I'm always going to foreground and prioritize whatever I think is going to get us free, including if that's something that isn't necessarily like core in my messaging as a campaign. So you're always going to get an honest answer out of me regardless. I'm going to tell you the truth as I see it, because I'm not a career politician. I don't aspire to be one. I aspire to win, and we're building to win. But you will never get a politician's answers out of me on any question. So then the last thing that I'll just say, since you gave the invitation, is that if this makes sense to you, wherever you're hearing this, then help us build the infrastructure that's actually needed to beat these, because we are not going to protest our way out of this oppression. We have to organize our way out of this oppression. And for me, the role of a revolutionary political party inside a broader freedom movement is that it helps channel the people's energy from mobilization around specific issues like Palestinian liberation or anti-Zionism, like ICE abolition or police brutality against Black people, and start to funnel them into organizing against the systems that are productive of all of those outcomes of oppression. So if you're somebody that's an activist and that is engaged in these levels of the fight, then this is actually like an electoral arm for your movement work. And if you're somebody that's not like politically engaged in that kind of activist work, then just understand that this is the opportunity to actually deal a blow to the powers that be that are enriching themselves at our expense. The last thing that I'll say about this is that I'm in my office at UCSB. I'm a tenured history professor. I earn a good living. I lose money by running for office. I don't need to do this to do this job. I'm doing this job because I want to serve the people, and because the revolutionary ancestors that I revere, and now Imam Jamil al-Amin has joined that group, that I feel like it's since I was tagged into a fight, I'm not going out of the fight until the other guy goes down. So this is an opportunity, if you want to build with somebody that actually believes in the principles that they espouse and is never going to backslide the way that some people that we were talking about at the beginning of this show might be backsliding. You're never going to hear me going soft on Zionism. You're never going to hear me, apologizing to the NYPD for calling them racist. You are never going to hear me betray the liberation principles that my heroes were steeped in and that have shaped my academic, intellectual, activist, organizing, and now political career. So butchwareforgov.com. Volunteer if you can't donate, but donate if you can, because we are competing against war criminals that are drowning in blood money, and we need resources to help build field teams so that we can fight back against these people.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Butch Ware, and definitely looking forward to having you back on, because we only scratched the surface.
Great talking to you. Yeah, we'll hopefully get a session in where we're not having the tech issues and where we're not both fighting a cold.
Someone just asked if you'll have merch soon.
All right, take care.
Oh,
yeah. Merch is going up on the website this week. We have an incredible Butch Ware for Gov Laker jersey, and everything is just Wear 26. So we've got a bunch of new merch about to drop. So check out the website.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
All right. You too. Okay, that was great. Brad, should I reveal it now or next time? Bucky's DNA. Maybe I'll tease that because I'm not feeling great, and I think people really want to make sure that I get, when I present that, it's very I'm really on the ball. Do you agree, Brad?
If you should tease it,
Like, sorry, I think I should just say that I'm going to do it and not do it now. I feel like I have to have. I'm too tired to do an effective.
to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. I can't do the reveal. Like when I'm sick. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I enjoy. I was talking with Andrew, who's been on a few, several times here, and I don't know. I have a point here. I assure you.
Famous last words. Yeah.
The creator of Breaking Bad just came out with a new program called Pluribus, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to see that. But I also am kind of tempted to not watch it, so then I can just like watch all of it.
Binge it, yeah.
And Andrew gave me the thought. He's like, but actually, one of the best parts is like the waiting for the next installment, and like collectively waiting, and all of that can be enjoyable. And I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense. So my point is, you announcing it so that you can do it correctly and do it justice. Yeah.
Great.
Totally.
Yeah, so that'll be coming. Well, everyone thank you so much, Brad. Thank you, Phantom Miss Fanta, for the clip. Thank you, Nate, for the research. Thank you to our guests. And stay healthy. A lot of people are getting really sick right now. If you if you've been watching live, you are in luck because you got to see the whole thing. If you're watching this later, to see the full chat with the hilarious co-hosts of Bad Hasbara, that's Daniel Maté and Matt Lieb, where we go through the insane things that Sarah Hurwitz had said. Sarah Hurwitz being the former speechwriter for the Obamas, and she did not come up with the when they go low, we go high line. Apparently Michelle Obama really did. To access that, go to patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Make sure that you get your vitamin D. Someone said, yes, that's true. Also, make sure that you, if you haven't already subscribe so you never miss a stream. Give this a like, whether you're watching now or later. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. That's a way to beat the algorithm. And I will see you all next week. Have a good holiday. If that's possible, depending on how your relationship, I guess, is with your family. See you next week. Bye, everyone.
Okay, calm down.